What's up, YouTube? Samuel here, blessed with another day of life, blessed with the opportunity to make another video this week. And today what I'd like to talk about is the journey to maturity. And it's beautiful because this can be applied to anything in your life. This is something that'll stay with you throughout your whole life. And the maturity in anything you want to be good at can be obtained if you do these steps. So let's get into it. Step 1, the process. From the start of the project. It's a decision, and I like to call it the vaccination stage. Step 2, chaos and disorder. It's gonna be ugly in the beginning. Step 3, failures, many failed experiences, painful gain, growing pains from growth and understanding obtained. And step 4, it's gonna be order. The puzzles begin to fit. And it becomes something that you can imagine, something that you can recognize. Step 5, maturity, familiarity, and perfecting starts to be something that you may be proud of. And step 6, you will be proud of. Step 6, start all over. Start a new process, start a new journey, and a new journey to maturity in life, because life is a series of these journeys that never ends. And never end as well. So in our lives, we're gonna be starting processes. Everything in our life is a series. Our whole life is a story, but it's a story that's a series of these journeys to maturity. And the process and the start of it is like what we read in the Bible. If you read the Bible, in the beginning, on page 1 in Genesis, we read that in the beginning, when God made the world, he started separating things. When he started building the world, he separated the light from the darkness, from the water to the dry land, from the day and night. And he started to say, I'm going to start to move chaos to order. It's going to become something that's recognizable. And he skipped the failures part. But we experienced that. But he went from chaos and disorder. He went from starting to build the earth, to make the world and the whole universe, and it started in chaos and disorder, and it went to order. And then what happened is that he put everything where it needed to be, and things, he said in the last day, he said it was good. He saw that it was good, and it was good. So that's how it is. It always starts, we have to start the project. And that's the difference between a successful person and a person who's not successful. The successful people go out and they start their projects, and the unsuccessful people are dragged into it. And it's a sad thing because they don't take the vaccination. That's why I call it the first step, vaccination stage, because they take the vaccination, they go out and they start to fight. These other guys, the unsuccessful people, they are dragged into this war, into the processes of life. They're dragged from first grade to second grade to third grade to college. They don't want to go to college. Maybe they get dragged into a job at McDonald's. Maybe they get dragged into a pregnancy. Maybe they get dragged into drugs, because they don't know what they want. So they're just all over the place. They're getting tossed around. In contrast to the person who's successful, they know what they're doing. They see a project and they start it. Okay, I'm gonna start building because I know that one day I'm gonna want a house. I'm gonna want some kids. I'm gonna want a nice wife to be with for the rest of my life. I'm gonna want this. They plan. And that's the thing. You start to envision the process. You start it, and it starts in chaos. And I want to give the example of sculpting. When you sculpt, it starts as a big old block, and that we could say is the decision and process. You see the big block and you see the potential that it has. You might see a piece of wood, and it's crazy how some pieces of wood are worth more than others. Say you see a piece of oak or something, some piece of wood, and you say, this oak tree has potential. I can make something out of this. So you see it. That's the process, the start of the project. You say, I think I can make something out of this. Chaos and disorder, you start to chop like weird shapes. And people look at it and they're like, I just see a bunch of like cuts, like shapes, triangles, squares, little shapes all around. And then you start to, and that would be the chaos and disorder. Failures, say when you get to the more detailed areas of when you're starting to make your piece of your sculpture, you're already at the point where you start to make the eyes too big. So then what? You start to mess up. The person's too fat or too skinny. So what you got to do is you got to start to fit the rest of it to look good. So then the eyes, you make it smaller, or the nose, you make it smaller, or maybe skinnier, bigger, I don't know. But you start to make it look more like what you have in your vision. You start, and then you get to the maturity, familiarity, and perfecting. That's that part where you're like, you could look at it and be like, everything's been done perfectly. I'm gonna leave it like that now. Then what do? You see another piece of wood and you say, I'm gonna make a better one. I might put paint on it this time, or I might make something I've never made before. Make it look better. That's the thing in life. You start your new project. The same example, whenever I write essays, I start with 20 pages of just notes, different kinds of notes, storyline notes, visual notes, notes about music, notes about the psychology of it. And what I do, I put the best of everything in a page and I leave it disordered. Then what I do, I start to order it. Then I start to trim the opening sentences. Then I make the conclusion good, and then next thing I know, it's a good essay. I'm ready to make the next one. I started playing the drums. Every time I do a new drum roll, I stutter when I start to play the drum roll, and it sounds terrible. They're like, and when people hear it, they're like, man, that's trash. This guy, he's like a beginner in the drums. Even though I've been playing for years, when I start a new project on the drums with a new beat, it sounds terrible. But I'm going out and I'm trying something new. But over time, the drum beat starts to sound a little bit cleaner. It comes out better timing. And over time, then it becomes something beautiful that people are like, wow, this guy really put time into learning that. And sometimes people don't appreciate the process of it, and they're like, this guy's just good at it. But no, it takes a process. It takes a time where you start to stutter and you sound bad. Same thing with babies. When babies are young, what do you hear? You hear goo goo gaga for a long time. It's a process. So the process starts. The baby decides it wants to talk. It wants to be mature. It sees the adults and it says, I want to talk. So the baby starts going like, here's the parents talking, mama, dad, goo goo gaga, blah, blah, blah. I have nieces and they're like, I'm like, what? They're like, I don't understand. And over time, they abandon that and it starts to sound like, Samuel, what are you doing? And then next thing you know, they're speaking better than me. And that's crazy because babies babble for a long time. And over that time, they're getting their words and they're growing on it and they're building on it. Next thing you know, they start to read. Next thing after that, they start to sing. They start to speak another language maybe. They start to write. Anyways, that's the processes. And they have to decide that they want it. They want to decide how bad they want it, and that determines how far they go. Me at work, I was stuck at 1,200 cases, couldn't get any better. Then I found ways that I could get better. I started to look and just, started to look at the better people working, and it was disorderly, it was chaotic. My pallets were ugly. I started to fix that. I failed many times. My pallets fell over. I didn't wrap enough. I wrapped too soon. And then what happened? It became order. It became like a piece of artwork. It started to look good. And then what happened? I could do it in my sleep after that. I learned the whole process perfectly. Then what? It was time to start all over a new process and a new project. And that's the thing in life. We can't get stuck on stage number 5. You become the best at it and you decide you don't want to do any more projects. No, time to go on to another project. Remember, 6, start all over, be a kid again, be brand new again. Start another process, another project. People, sometimes they get stuck on stage number 5. They're so perfect at something that they don't want to become good at anything else. No, continue to grow, be a kid again, be new to something again, be bad at something again. And that's the journey to maturity. it's a sequence of this in life, all over life. And it's just, it's beautiful. It keeps you humble. So with that being said, I'm gonna say the process again. The journey to maturity. Start the process. Take the vaccination, so it won't kill you during the process. Then the chaos and disorder stage. Then the failures. Then the order begins, and then the maturity. Then you start all over again. Make sure it goes in that sequence, and make sure you don't take a screenshot of what's going on at the time. During stage 2 and 3, people are like, man, it seems eternal. So then they get stuck on that. They never overcome it because they're like, man, this is forever. I'm never gonna get past this stage. I failed 100 times already. No, remember that you need to go through that so you could be able to get to the most beautiful stages. And with that being said, God bless, like and subscribe. Goodbye.